Thank you. Joining us now, Heritage Foundation Tech Policy Research Associate Jake Denton. Jake, great to see you. Musk had quite the weekend. I want to get your reaction to Kelly's report, but also reports by the New York Times that he is planning to make big cuts at the firm, getting rid of staff members, and also this idea that he's going to charge for verification. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the news that GM and, whatever other corporation comes around and says that they will no longer advertise with Twitter is to be expected. For too long, corporate interests have driven the direction of this country. And while Elon's goals are maybe aspirational in a business sense, they're really not that crazy. I mean, restoring free speech to the internet is something that's long overdue. And so, whether it be Shonda Rhimes not promoting her new woke Netflix show or Sarah Bareilles not sharing her new music, which I'm sure no one wanted to listen to anyways, Twitter will be a better platform when those voices are gone and the voices of folks like President Trump and the other countless conservative influencers are brought back to the platform. So ultimately, I think he needs to stick to his guns here.
I can't imagine Elon Musk didn't think that some of this would happen when he took, leadership and took the reins and also started, talking about changing some of the rules. But he's also a very, very good and successful businessman with a great track record. I imagine he considered some of these issues and he just doesn't care.
Yeah, no, I think that 75% of the staff being laid off number didn't come out of thin air. It's something that is absolutely necessary in order to execute his vision. And frankly, personnel is policy. It's the same issue that President Trump faced in the early days of his administration. If he wants to accomplish what he set out to when he's purchased this company, it's going to require him to blow up the entire staff. And I don't think he should stop at 75%. I hope he gets rid of every single one of these people that made Twitter a giant failure.
I think you're right, and I think part of his plan is to bring in fresh blood that's loyal to him, employees who haven't been carrying out the policies and practices, even if they're not in the fine print of the top Twitter executives, suppressing speech, the bot problems, all of these things. Everybody was working together at that company, and they all have some accountability, I imagine.
Yeah, and what we're seeing now is that the employees who are still employed at Twitter are going rogue. And countless other conservatives were just banned over the weekend from the platform. And frankly, it's going to continue to happen until Elon gets rid of these people. And so I think he's really just got to power through these first couple of days and get to the firings.
Yeah, it's interesting, too. He wants it to be a public square. He does want people to have the right to free speech. He wants them to voice their opinions. But the question is, and always has been when it comes to Twitter, where do you draw that line? When does a user go too far? When does the company take action? Does it have to be reported that there's a violation, or does the company just decide? Are they able to look at and monitor all of these accounts? I mean, it'll be really interesting to see how he sort of reshapes and redefines what's happening there.
Yeah, Elon has said in the last few interviews he's done regarding the direction he'll take the platform that he intends to follow the speech laws of the United States. And so, calls to violence and other things of that nature won't be allowed on the platform. But they're not going to be in the business of deciding, what Americans can say on the internet. We're a week away from the election, and thousands of Americans were just taken off the platform. And I think he's going to put an end to that, and I think it's long overdue. I think it's time to restore order and speech to the platform.
Taking them off the platform, conservatives losing followers, a lot to watch for. But, many people are excited to see what Elon Musk will do. And as I said before, he has a very strong track record as a businessman. So my bet is that Elon Musk will make this company profitable and he will create shareholder value. Jake Denton, great to see you. Thank you.